Hi, everybody. Welcome. Hi. Welcome, everyone. I just realized I set this meeting for 100 people and not thinking that many people would show up. So I'm hoping that everybody can fit in. I appreciate you all being here on Thanksgiving. Hi, Susan. Hi, Carol. I see you. Hi. Hi. Hi, Donna. Nice to see you. Hi, Joanne. Hi. Yeah. Hi, everybody. Thank you for being here with me on Thanksgiving. Okay, we have like just a few more. Hold on, bear with me because Terry is not here. Okay, there we go. Terry's not here today, of course, because it's Thanksgiving, so I'll be facilitating it. And uh, okay, here we go. All right, welcome everybody. Well, we just reached 100. Sorry to everybody who can't make it. Glad you all signed on early. That's fantastic. I just have a question. Let me just see. It didn't get an answer here. Susan and Carol, can you tell me, do you just see my face or do you see the gallery? Do you have it set? Do you go like this if you just see my face? You're seeing the gallery. Okay. Let me do one thing. Bear with me, everybody. Okay. How about this? Are you, okay, there we go. Donna, are you seeing just my face or are you seeing the gallery? Yeah, my face, give me a thumbs up. Okay, great. All right, everybody. So I may go to gallery at some point, I guess it certainly depends on what your setting is. So anyway, hi, everybody. Welcome. Happy Thanksgiving for those of you who celebrate. And I am going to go to gallery for a minute because I want to see everybody. That's much better for me. And I don't know, I'm assuming if you set it on speaker, you'll see just me versus, yeah, that's true. Thank you, Gail. Thank you. Okay, great. So good. I'd much rather see all of you. So welcome. And here we are celebrating Thanksgiving for those of you who do celebrate. And for those of you that don't, it's never a bad time to celebrate gratitude, is it? Right? I was thinking this morning, I sat down to write in my journal and I just made a list of all the things I was grateful for and really tried to go below, beneath the typical, I'm grateful for Michael and our home and cats and things like that. And those things were certainly on the list, but I also thought about, grateful for a memory I had of a hummingbird visit in at the end of summer. And this morning at about 7 in the morning, I went outside to take an outdoor shower, which I love. And yes, it's cold here in the Northeast, but it's warm in the hot shower, even though you have the cold air around you. And I had this beautiful experience of suddenly seeing a flock of seagulls in formation fly overhead. Now, I never see that. Seagulls in formation. I mean, those of you that live near the beach, they're kind of willy-nilly all over the place. They were seabirds in formation. And the sun was just rising, so it was illuminating like half of their wings, which was just spectacular. Usually I see formation of geese, the big V's in the sky. But this was amazing. And I just thought, in that moment, you know how sometimes you have those moments where you think, this is the best part of life right here, right? In that moment where you see something so beautiful in nature. Part of the reason it feels like the best time of life is because it brings us right into the present moment instantly. That's what beauty does. Beauty is sort of a transmitter of present moment. It brings us right into the moment. So, anyway, I thought that we could maybe start by just taking a couple of minutes of presence so that we can actually really be here with one another. So, just get comfortable and give yourself the gift of your own company. So remove any distractions. Make sure that you have other programs shut off in your computer so that you don't uh, hear dings or get distracted in any way. Maybe you want to shut the door of the room that you're in. Um, just give yourself the beauty of this moment together. And a great place to begin is always to just notice what activates your senses. So I always like to just pay attention to how does my body feel in the chair? Where is my body making contact with other things? And what am I hearing? What am I smelling? What am I tasting? Anything? Just tune into the room that you're in. And also tune into the interior of your body. So just enter your body. Notice whether or not you can hear your heartbeat or feel it beat. Notice if there's any tension anywhere, or if something feels lighter and looser. And tune into your heart. Bring your attention to your heart. Just consider how amazing it is that this muscle in your chest beats repeatedly without any help from you. We don't have to control the heart. It does what it needs to do all on its own. What a blessing that is. Take a moment to thank your heart for the way it carries you and sustains you. And take a moment and thank your hands for all they give and all they receive. Thank your eyes for all they allow you to see, if you're able to do so. And thank your nose for the way it captures the scent of lavender and roses and the beautiful smell of a pet or a loved one or a candle that you love to keep lit in your home. Thank your back for carrying you through life in the beautiful way that it does. And thank your legs for standing strong or being present for you in a way that serves you. And your feet that take you to so many places in your life. There's a lot to be grateful for. Then thank yourself for being here, for giving yourself the gift of community, connection, remembering gratitude, and for being present to yourself. And when you're ready, you can open your eyes and smile. Yay. Yeah. So, I thought we would just sort of have this as an open visit. And I invite you to either raise your hand if there's a question you have or something related to gratitude or Thanksgiving that you'd like to share, or if there's some kind of support that you need, um, you can raise your hand, and you can do that by looking at going down below, looking at the react button, or you can raise your physical hand and just wait for me to scroll and find you. Just make sure your video's on so I can see you. Um, Lori, I love that picture of your cat. Looks so cozy. And certainly, if you'd like, you can put a question in the chat box as well. And fortunately, my ability to multitask is still very well established in my wisdom years. It's definitely softened a bit, but it's still here, and I will get to the chat as well. I'll do my best to get there. So let's start with you, Candace. Welcome. And if you could unmute yourself, there you go. Hi.
Hi, good morning. Thank you. And thank you for having this call
You're welcome.
today. And I'm in California, so it's only 8 o'clock for me.
Oh, okay.
Um, so it doesn't, our family gathering is at noon. So yay. Thank you.
Great. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome.
And I've been allowing myself to feel grief for for a few weeks after stuffing it for many years,
Mm,
not even recognizing it. And also been focusing on gratitude as well.
mhm,
And I was sitting with listening to you with that opening meditation, whatever you want to call it.
mhm,
I just what came to me is how much for me grief seems to be intertwined with gratitude
mhm.
because I've been finding as I process the grief and I cry and allow myself to experience what I feared, that my gratitude seems to be growing, would you say, exponentially? And so
Yes.
there seems to be for me a connection that I never intellectually thought about or knew.
Hmm.
And and that for me, gratitude, and I heard this a long time ago that the greatest prayer actually is gratitude.
Hmm. Yes, thank you.
And
Yeah.
that makes sense to me.
Hmm.
I'm a very logical person. Yeah. And so I've been focusing on gratitude as I go through this
Hmm.
process. So
Yeah.
I just wanted to, that's what I wanted to share. Thank
Thank you.
you.
Yeah, thank you, Candace. Thank you very much. And I think it's so important what you're saying. And I have a wonderful little story to tell you about grief and gratitude. But I first want to say that many of you have heard me say plenty of times that we don't really support grieving in the world, let's say. Grieving is sort of, I have always experienced grieving as a path to making me more deeply connected to myself and connected to the present moment. Because if you think about it, when you're suddenly grieving the loss of someone or something, there's a lot of things, by the way, to grieve, not just the loss of loved ones, but the loss of certain functions of our body as we age, right? Or the loss of friendships that change as we age. The loss of identity when we suddenly decide to switch jobs or to retire. the loss of what we thought was going to be. Like some part of me wanted to be a dancer. And I remember the day, one of my birthdays, where I realized I'm actually never going to be a dancer. I can dance, but I'm never going to be a professional dancer. I'm too old for that. And so there's a lot that we have to grieve, and grief doesn't go away. It sticks around and waits in the wings for us to notice. The loss of, you know, just the people that we love and the capabilities that they have, or the capabilities that a pet has, or the loss of a pet, right? So many things. When we're grieving, we're actually entering the present moment. And as we enter the present moment, we become more connected to ourselves and to what really matters. And so, in that way, I totally get the connection between grief and gratitude, because there's a kind of richness and poignancy to grieving that makes us stop and really appreciate what really matters, right? And even the nuances. When I think about my mother, so my mother died a year ago, September. And as time has gone on and I've really actively grieved the loss of my mother, there's so many things about her that there's kind of different levels of recognition of who she was that happen over time as I grieve, seeing her in deeper and deeper ways. And so that's why I think grief's really important. So here's my story. It's kind of a strange little story, but it was sweet. Last week, I lost wireless in the house. I was attempting to upgrade our router, our modem and router, and it didn't work. So I had to call the cable company, Xfinity, to come out and figure out what was going on. And I was thinking to myself, so I was without wireless for about 4 days. And it's not until you lose wireless that you realize how wired your life is, right? Because suddenly the TV isn't working and the security system isn't working properly. It was like all of these things weren't working. My phone was working and I could connect my computer to my phone, but in the past, I would have been so frustrated and thought, my goodness, I need this wireless right away. But as I get older, you kind of pick and choose your battles and you realize that, our suffering really is directly related to our resistance to what is. And what was that I had no wireless and I wasn't going to have it for 4 days until the cable company could get here. So the cable company arrives, this man arrives, and he comes to the front door, and I say to him, "Hi, I'm so happy to see you. Come on in." And he comes in, and I said, "I bet people are just so happy to see you when you come." And he said, "No, actually, people are usually pretty frustrated and not very happy." And I thought, "Okay, well, I'm happy. Come on in. What's your name?" And he said his name was Norman. So he went in and he looked at the equipment and he said, "Oh, the reason your wireless isn't working is we've changed the ways that you need to do your passwords, and your old password doesn't fit the guidelines. So we need a new password." I said, "Okay, that's simple." So he hands me his phone and he says, "Could you please put a network name and a password in so that I can get your system up and running?" So I don't know why, but I put 88 love Norman, because I thought right now I love Norman. I'm so glad he's here. And so I put 88 love Norman. And he looked at the phone and he looked at me and I said, "Okay, I know that's strange. And it is a little weird when you think about, like, I don't know this guy. I was going to say an older gentleman, but he was probably younger than me. I said, "I don't know, Norman. I just love you. I'm so glad you're here. It's great to get my wireless." So, and he said, "Okay." And he left, went in the room, set up the wireless, came out and said to me, "Could you show me where the basement is? I'll see if there's any equipment that needs to be upgraded." I said, "Fine." He walks by my back door and he looks out and he says, "Oh my goodness, what an amazing view." And I said, "Oh, come outside, Norman, look at the view. It's really beautiful." So we walk out on my deck and we're looking at the view and he's saying, "Wow, this is so pretty. It's really a lovely area." And I said, "Yes." And then he said to me, "May I ask you a question?" And I said, "Sure." And he said, "What made you pick the number 88 in your password?" And I said, "I don't know, Norman. It just kind of came to me." I said, "I know I've heard that eight is a lucky number in Chinese, um, like it's an abundance number, I guess, or something. But I don't know. I just sort of picked it. Why do you ask?" And his eyes filled with tears, and he said, "I met my wife in 1988, And I said, "Oh, that's really sweet." I'm thinking, "Well, that's nice." And he said, "She died in June." And I said, "Oh, Norman, I'm so sorry. This past June?" And he said, "Yes." And I said, "Wow, that's not that long ago." And he said, "No." And he started to cry. And he said, "I'm really just struggling trying to make my way without her." And then he was so sweet. Like, of course, he took out his phone, he started showing me pictures, and then he sent me to the website for the funeral home where there was a video of her that I could watch. And I went on and I looked at started to watch some of the video, and it just was this beautiful, special moment. And it was very much that sense, Candace, like you were talking about, where, because then, so then I said to him, I lost my mother just a year ago, and I know how hard it is to lose someone you love. I said, I can't imagine losing my husband. Like, I don't know what it's like to lose a spouse, and imagine it's really difficult. And he said, yeah, it is. And I turned to look at the view, and I looked down on the deck, and there was a penny sitting on the deck next to a post by the railing. And I said to Norman, "You know what's really funny?" And he said, "What?" I said, "My mother sends me coins all the time. There's a penny on the deck." And I said, "How did a penny get on my deck? I only come out here in my pajamas." And he started laughing. And I said, "Well, Norman, I guess my mother and your wife, Michelle, are both trying to communicate with us today. And I hope you see my password as a sign from your wife that she's not gone. She's just on the other side of a veil that you can't see." And he said, "I think you're really right about that." So it was kind of a special moment. And as much as we both connected to our pain of the grief of losing, on the flip side of that, as we continued to be very honest and vulnerable with each other, it then blossomed into gratitude. And, I invited him to a meditation gathering that I'm hosting here in mid-December, and I'm hoping he comes. I have no idea. He said, "Am I going to have to give a speech or something?" I said, "No, meditation is you get to just be here and be quiet." Which could be really scary for some people. But anyway, it was a beautiful experience. And, those are the kinds of moments we get to have when we pay attention to what shows up in front of us, right? So, anyway, thank you for reminding me of that story, Candace. Hi, Chitra. Welcome.
Hi, Cheryl. I just love you, as you know. I just want to thank you for all your support during, so many years, but also while I lost my mom last December, and my dad is quite sick, and you have been so kind. I think of grief as sacred. This is really a sacred time for us. Of course, every time is sacred, and gratitude truly helps us just remembering the small things. And what is interesting is that I feel I can understand my mother's wisdom much more now. I actually go inside and I know what she's trying to tell me. Maybe don't go this way. You need to go this way. And I am able to tune into my mother's wisdom. And I know this is coming from her because my original impulse would have been to do something totally different. So I just want to thank you. I sent your message to many, many people because I just loved the way you had written about the thank yous, simple ways in which one can express gratitude. Like you don't need big things, just very small things. So I just want to thank you.
You're very welcome. And Chitra, first I want to say I love you too. Every time I see your name in my email box, yes, I feel the connection. And I also want to say, there have been 3 times since my mother died where I have spoken to her out loud. My husband Michael taught me this because since his dad died, it'll be a year ago in a couple of weeks. He said, I talk to him, I talk to him out loud whenever I'm driving. And I've never done that. I mean, I'm sure I've done that here and there, but he does it intentionally, consistently. He also talks to our friend Eileen, who died. She was very close to both of us. There have been 3 times, Chitra, where I have talked to my mother out loud, and I have absolutely had the experience. I can hear her voice instantly in my head with the piece of wisdom that I know isn't me. So I think I know exactly what you're speaking about. And I would encourage all of you who have lost loved ones, whether it's in this past year or 20 years ago, I do believe that consciousness lives beyond the physical body. All of the research that I've done and continue to do because I'm fascinated by that. I believe that our conscious, the body is the vehicle that allows us to live here for however many years we're on Earth. And this is a dense place where we're challenged to grow and evolve. And then when we die, our consciousness just returns to the greater intelligence that could be God, however you define it. I want to be respectful of people's spiritual and religious beliefs. Um, but that consciousness of the loved ones and even the animals that have passed on is available to us. It's just that we don't pay attention. And for those of you who haven't heard of the telepathy tapes, which is a podcast series that started a couple of years ago, I have really appreciated what this young woman who didn't really understand any of this stuff began to do when she started researching non-speaking autistic children who were communicating telepathically with people. And that series has gone on to look at consciousness and to look at our ability to communicate beyond the physical limitations that we think exist. So if you haven't checked that out, I would really encourage you to check out the telepathy tapes and start from the very beginning. And if somebody would be so kind as to just look up the website and put it in the chat box, you can be my little, my big and I'm grateful for you, assistant. If we could just put a link in the chat box, that would be awesome. So anyway, thank you, Chitra. And I have no doubt your mother's providing you with wisdom, and I would invite everybody to try that. It's very distinctive, like you said, I'll be grappling with something, or I'll be just sad and missing her or upset about something, and I will. One of the times I was just mad at myself for something, and I just said, "Oh, Mom, I can't believe I did this again." Blah, blah, blah. And instantly I heard, sweetheart, please don't talk to yourself. Like it was this loving voice that I knew was hers. And so um, I encourage you all to give that a try. Hi, Connie, welcome. Hang on, I'm asking you to unmute. There
Yep,
you go.
there we go.
Yes.
I have a tremor, so sometimes it's kind of hard. I wanted to share a couple of gratitude practices that I use. And I think they're things people can do anytime. First of
Mhm.
all, I happen to wear a spiral ring. The spiral is the genuine symbol of gratitude. I do workshops on gratitude, so I've studied
Mhm.
gratitude a lot. I wear it, and when you have rings on, often you play with them.
Right.
When I'm playing with my spiral ring, I'm saying something that I'm grateful for.
Yeah.
You don't have to have a spiral ring. You could use any kind of symbol that
Mhm.
a pen that you have that you're writing with. That's your
Mhm.
favorite pen. When you pick it up, you think of something that you're grateful for.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
that's one of my practices. The
Yeah.
other practice is something that we just did, but I do it in the shower.
Mhm.
Going through when I'm washing each part of my body, thank you for whatever it is.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
whenever I take a shower, and that's just a very simple thing that we can do anytime. It's
Yes.
always with us.
Yeah, it's really smart to link practices to everyday habits, like when you're brushing your teeth or when you're going to the bathroom. Or Louise Hay had affirmations taped across from her toilet. And so every time she went to the bathroom, she was reading affirmations, reading certain, and she changed them on a weekly basis, sometimes on a daily basis. And inspired by her, I have a sheet of affirmations in my bathroom and putting them on a bathroom mirror or linking some kind of practice to even a practice of presence to brushing your teeth, where you pay attention to what it feels like to actually brush your teeth versus, I mean, take a week and notice all the things you think about when you're brushing your teeth, right? It's usually past related or future oriented. Very, very rarely are we in the present moment. And The most amount of gratitude will be found in the present moment. Everything good is found in this moment when we're actually available for it. So thank you so much, Connie. I really appreciate your wisdom. And let me go to the chat and just see if we have any questions in here. Yes. Well, that's nice, Anne. Anne says, I'm so overwhelmed with how blessed I am that I've been crying most of the morning. Those are good tears. That's a beautiful reason to be crying. Kate, I would love some words of wisdom about losing weight. I've been struggling with this. Interesting question. Okay, I'm going to give you a really unusual piece of advice, Kate. This is just sort of spontaneous. If you have access to ChatGPT, I would invite you to make ChatGPT your weight loss partner and go in and tell it what you'd like to do, what you've tried to do, how you've failed, what you're afraid of, what you're afraid might happen. Like just go in and let me preface this by saying, those of you who took our AI class in one of the Zoom gatherings, I always make sure that anything I'm putting into ChatGPT isn't leaving, isn't fueling their large database. It's all private within my own library. But Kate, you would be surprised. I have a handful of people in my life that are using ChatGPT in this way as a partner for something. And they're really learning a tremendous amount about themselves, and they're actually creating a sense of consistency with the things that they want to change as a result. So you might want to try that. The more information you give ChatGPT about your weight loss journey, the more helpful it will be. And so that's just an unusual piece of advice. Yes, lots of people writing about grief, and people's memories. Yeah, that's great. It's really beautiful. Thank you. Let me go to Robin. Hey, Robin. Hi. There we go. Hi.
Yeah. Hi. Since we've been talking about grief and loss of parents, etc., my mother died. It's right there on the surface. My mother died in August,
Oh,
and
I'm so
and
sorry.
my father died 2 years ago. And from that moment, Mom just wanted to go and be with him.
Yeah.
But it's been just the last couple of weeks I've been able to find places in me that felt normal, or
Mhm.
moments of normalcy. And I have a large skill set built in from my spiritual practices, but there's
Mhm.
nothing that prepares you for those moments, as I found. But what I wanted to speak to that hadn't been addressed today so much is, in both cases, and actually with other people that I've lost in the last couple of years, after their transition, my experience of who they are enlarged exponentially.
Mhm.
And the grace of that has been so profound.
Mhm.
And like when it first started at my dad's funeral, the man who spoke had been an alcoholic and was now a minister, and he had been a golf buddy with my father. And he
Oh,
talked about the degree to which my father had mentored him. And there was a part of my dad that I had never known personally,
yeah.
because there was love and goodness between us, but they were a little shy really in
Mhm.
talking about certain kinds of things. And that began a process that I feel him around me all the time, and I know him in such a profound way that wasn't available before.
Yes,
And now
yes.
with Mom, that's beginning to happen.
Mhm.
There's more in the way that mothers and daughters often have very complex relationships. It's going to take a little bit more time with her, but I am, in the presence of my tears, I am so grateful for that deeper knowing and the gift that
Mm.
it provides. So I just wanted to put that out in this forum.
Yeah, in the presence of my tears, I'm so grateful for that deeper knowing. That's a beautiful line, Robin. I would write that down if I were you. In the
Mhm.
presence of my tears, I am grateful for the deeper knowing. And as I look at you, Robin, I see that great mother behind you.
I painted
Yeah.
her.
You painted her. Did you
I
really?
did. I did.
Wow. Okay, move out of the way so we can see. Oh my goodness, that is so beautiful.
Thank you. Thank
Wow.
you.
Um, hold on. Let's just okay, move out of the way. I'm going to
I'm trying.
spotlight you for a minute. There we go, everybody.
Okay.
That is so, so beautiful. And wow, good for you.
Thank you.
Good for you. That's really, that's something. So it is, it's like having a great mother um, behind you,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
Like
Yeah.
supporting you. Okay,
Yeah.
now I have to figure out how to take you off of spotlight. Um, there, I think that that did it, right, everybody?
Mm. There you go.
It didn't for some people. Oh, it did for,
No,
okay.
I hit it.
Great.
I hit it too. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I think it's
So
also really interesting. I want to just emphasize what you're saying, Robin. It's been kind of fascinating to me since my mother died. Same thing happened with my father. There's a way in which I know them differently than when they were alive. And I guess
that's
it's
what I
because,
mean.
it's such an example of how our humanness falls away and the essence of who we are remains. And we're then allowed to have a relationship with the essence of that person. And that's the wise, loving, um, unifying part, right? That isn't, so there's not the separation between us and them because of our humanness, where I guess we connect with their essence and therefore we connect with our oneness. And it's really quite beautiful, really beautiful. So thank you for that. Thank you. Hey, Gail, welcome. There we go. I'm trying to, you can unmute. There
Yes.
we go. Hi. Hello.
I'm loving every minute of this. And what floated up for me was a memory that came to me originally through the ether somehow, that prior to reaching our deepest gratitude is forgiveness. That it's like a precursor. It's like to forgive yourself and others in order to kind of make a different platform for your gratitude.
Mhm.
Because, there are some of those things in the way. If you're busy being mad or resentful or, then the space isn't there. So it's kind of like hinged together is forgiveness.
Yeah, I think that's really true. And forgiveness or the desire to forgive or even just the willingness to look at what needs to be forgiven is really an invitation to do some deep healing work, right? Because we can't just say, I'm going to forgive, like, Dad, I'm going to forgive you, or Mom, I'm going to forgive you. Wouldn't that be lovely if we could do that and actually have it land all the way down on deeper levels? But the truth is that those people in our lives that we have a hard time forgiving are the blessing of them is that they are providing us with an invitation to do deeper healing work. And then, yes, I remember years ago, probably 35 years ago, 40 years ago, when I was beginning my own journey and I was in a really tough situation. I think I had ended a painful relationship, had my heart broken as a young woman. And a therapist at the time said to me, someday you will see, you will thank this man for behaving the way that he did. And I thought, you're an idiot. There's no way I'm going to ever thank him for this. Like, there's no way. Um, but boy, 10 years later, when I had grown and evolved in different ways, I swear to you, I could have sent him a thank you card. And I've said that to so many people. I know you may not believe this now, but if you do the work this situation or this person is inviting you to do, someday they will be a great blessing for you and you'll want to send a thank you note. So, forgiveness is really a very important part of it for sure. Okay, Robin, some people are asking if you have a website with your art on it. So if you do, you don't. No? Okay, well, maybe you should. Maybe it's an invitation. Um, okay, so let's see. If anybody else wants to speak, please feel free to raise your hand, especially if you have something you need support with. And I'm just going back through the chat again. Oh, yeah, losing pets so hard. It's funny, isn't it, how holidays really do bring up uh, grief. You know, they bring up both what we feel grateful for and what we feel like we're missing. Hey, Susan and Carol, there you are. Hi there.
Here, hi, Cheryl.
How are you? It's good
How
to
are
see you
you?
both. I'm good.
Same, same.
Yeah.
Cheryl, I'm on my sister's uh, video, but I wanted to just bring back the things that we've talked about with regard to empathy and forgiveness, and the concept that makes a lot of sense to me and it has a lot of meaning for me is that when you really look carefully at certain things, certain human experiences, we come to understand that there are some things that we can't make happen. And empathy is one of those things. I think empathy happens to us,
Mhm.
and forgiveness is another. You can want to forgive and pray to forgive and wish you could forgive
Mm.
forever and ever and ever. And then all of a sudden, some change happens. And then we say, what was that all about?
Mm.
What was I so upset about?
Mhm.
And it's that kind of grace that comes. Our job is to want to forgive
Right.
and to pray to be willing. And then the rest happens to us.
Yeah.
And I think once we know that, we get a little bit more comfortable in it not happening yet.
Hmm. You know, one of the things I love about that, Carol, is it's so interesting to think about praying to ask for forgiveness to visit you
Mhm.
based on what you're saying, right? Like
Right,
instead of
right,
me trying to make something happen, praying that I am
right.
open and receptive to forgiving this person. And I'm
Mhm.
going to allow life to take me on the journey that will arrive at that destination. I like that idea, you know?
Yeah.
Um, and it's also so in line with the fact that the older I get, the more I'm confronted by my need to control my life and everything in it. And I'm not proud of that, but it's just my humanness. And, you know, whether it's wanting to control what, you know, whether or not Michael eats something because at the end of the day, I want him to be healthy and I want him to live for a long time, right? Or wanting my cats to do, like, I just think that there's a way in which, in our wisdom years, a big part of that work is opening ourselves to the kind of um, the kind of inner work that I think is really crucial at the end of life or in the later stages of life. Forgiveness, grieving, seeing people for who they really are instead of who we wanted them to be or thought that they were, right? Um, Connecting with the compassion that comes from recognizing, for example, that I'll speak for myself, that my parents were human beings with their own limitations, and they really did do the best that they could. And when they didn't do well by me, it was actually a blessing because it became fodder for my own healing, you know? And so this inner work of who am I now and what do I want to learn about myself and what do I want to heal before I leave the planet? I do sometimes think if in fact reincarnation is true, and Brian Weiss is a dear friend of mine and one of my first mentors, and you know, he's a scientist and he's pretty much validated the existence of reincarnation. And sometimes I think, I don't, you know, if there's certain things that are happening in my life, I think, oh, please, God, let me heal this. I don't want to do this again. I'd like to move on to something else, you know? So, anyway, I think that, you know, what you're saying, Carol, reminds me that this this is an important place for our attention to be placed on what we want to heal, what we want to grieve, what we want to forgive. All of that makes us more available to ourselves and to each other and to a rich and meaningful life. Thank you. Um, Hi, Julie. There you go.
Hi,
Hi, how are you?
I'm good. I
Hi.
think you probably got me through my early 40s, Cheryl, and now you're about to get me through my 60s. Um, well, the question I have is that so I have your grace cards, your self-care cards, and your wisdom cards. And I will once a week, like shuffle them and pull one randomly. And then I have a little notebook that I write those down in. And so it's really obvious which words repeat themselves. And I get gratitude in the grace cards a lot.
Mm.
And it kind of makes me feel bad about myself. Like, why? I mean, they're telling me you need to be more grateful. So this kind of goes back a little bit to 2 people ago, I guess, Gail's comment. And so what would you say to that?
Well, what if they're telling you something different? What could they be telling you with gratitude cards that might be different than what you imagine? Make something up.
I have a lot to be grateful for.
Yeah, what else? You have a lot to be grateful for. Do you have a lot to
Um,
be grateful for?
oh, yes, yes,
Okay, good.
yes.
Good.
Um, um, I, I, I can't think.
All right, all right. You ready? Try this one on. What if every tool we use in life, like cards, like opening a book to a random page, like getting together with a friend when we're willing to be vulnerable and to talk about what's going on, what if the cards are a way for a divine loving presence to communicate with you? And each time you receive the gratitude card, what that card is saying is, Julie, we are so grateful for you. We're so grateful that you're here, that you turn to us or turn to me, however you want to define that. Um, you are a lot to be grateful for.
Wow. Yeah, I never thought of it like that.
Imagine that, Julie.
Wow.
Like, could we change your perception of getting that card multiple times? I mean, I honestly, I sometimes think that. I've done that too. I'll pull cards. Oh my gosh, I've had like some amazing experiences with friends of mine. I have multiple different decks of cards, not only mine, other people's cards. And there have been times where, together with my friend Eileen, the number of times we would get the same card 2, 3, 4 times and finally realize, okay, we need to pay attention. What if you keep getting the gratitude card because there is this greater intelligence that is really trying to reach you, Julie, to tell you that you are worthy, you are special, you are really important, and you are a source of great gratitude for something far bigger than you. Imagine that.
Wow. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be awesome?
Yes, it would.
Yeah. I really think it's true. You know, it reminds me of a story I heard a long time ago. I wish I could remember where I heard it. It could be Wayne Dyer. I don't know. Wayne, if it's you, I apologize that I don't remember, but I think it could have been him. But it makes me think of this story, Julie, what you just said. The story is about a man who dies and goes to heaven, and he is at the pearly gates. And one of, I don't know, St. Peter, we'll say St. Peter comes to meet him, to greet him and welcomes him into heaven. And he comes through these big, beautiful gates, and he sees in front of him this long corridor. And on either side of the corridor are these big, beautiful, ornate buildings. And St. Peter says to the man, come with me, we're going to go and visit your space here. And they're walking down, and the man's looking all around, just stunned by the beauty of it all. And everything is sort of emanating light, and it just is an amazing place. And they're walking down this path, and off on each side of the path are separate paths. And they get down about a block or so, and St. Peter turns him to the right, and they walk down this other path. Again, with all of these like walls with beautiful ornate buildings. And they stop in front of a building, and St. Peter opens the front door. And when they go inside, the man sees all of these column, like rows of drawers, almost like, remember the old library drawers? You pull out the drawer and there'd be cards in them. So he sees all these drawers, and he walks up to a particular drawer, and it has the man's name on it. And he looks at the man and he says, "This is your drawer." And when he opens it up, the drawer is filled with like thousands of illuminating stars, like bright, bright stars. And the man looks at them and his breath is taken away. And he says to St. Peter, "What is this?" And St. Peter says to him, "These are all the blessings you forgot to ask for while you were on earth." And I always remember that story because to me, it reminds me there is a loving presence. We know this presence, all of us do. If you tune into me right now in this moment, like be really present with me, we could feel that loving connection between us, right? There is this loving presence that always has our best interest at heart, is guiding us, is available to guide us, wants us to feel loved and connected. We are the ones that create the separateness. And one of the ways we do that, Julie, is the stories we tell ourselves. And in human form, a huge majority of those stories are negative towards us, right? We're really critical.
Yeah.
And so when you said, I keep getting the gratitude card and it kind of is bothering me, I don't know what I'm doing wrong. That's kind of what I heard you saying. That was my interpretation. My thought was, what if it's just reminding you of what you're doing right and that there is this loving presence trying to connect with you and trying to remind you that you are a source of gratitude for it. You chose to come here and to do some really difficult work. This is not an easy place, Earth. Nobody gets out free. No one's free from suffering here. Our suffering is the thing that brings us to presence, if we're lucky. And so, I like to think of it, and I hope from this day forward, Julie, every time you get that gratitude card, you just look around you and you say, I got it. I hear you. Thank you for being grateful for me. I am grateful for you in return. And I'm grateful to myself for having come here and deciding to take this journey and to do the work of being a human and to grow and evolve. I mean, you wouldn't be here on a Zoom on Thanksgiving morning if some part of you, if not all of you, this is true for everyone here, if some part of you wasn't deeply committed to becoming more conscious in some way.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Thank you so much.
You're very welcome. You're very, very welcome. All right, we have 10 minutes left. And yes, we are wired for negativity. That is absolutely true. That's how the brain works. And so we've got to counteract that with presence and love and unity for sure. Yes, Candace, it's true. And what if Julie shared today as a reminder to all of us that we are a gift to the universe? Absolutely. There's some good resources in the chat, so please check that out, everybody. And so let me just say that in the next few months, I have some other Zoom gatherings coming up. I want to do one, just keep breathing when I say this, but I want to do one on death and dying and how to make peace with death, how to be less afraid, how to prepare for our death so we can actually live our lives and not worry about death. Everything from the kind of practical, like, do you have a will? Do you have estate planning? Like, who's going to come in your door when you die and take care of your things? To what is the kind of work you want to be involved in, the inner work you want to be involved in before you leave. I've been told by one of my publishers that this is a topic that most people aren't interested in. They say they're not interested in it, and therefore they don't really want to offer much on this topic. I say you're just not offering it in the right way. I think you have to be interested in it because we're all headed in that direction, right? So why not make it like an incredible experience? So there's going to be one on that. There's also one coming up on a form of therapy that I've been very interested in. There's a book called The 1 Hour Miracle by Dr. Andrew Hahn and Joni Beckett. And it's this very interesting, it's called Life-Centered Therapy. You can check out the website. He's created this protocol for helping people deal with little and big traumas in very short amounts of time. And I've seen evidence, I've experienced it myself, and I've seen evidence with other people of really significant changes happening in one session. And he's got a team of therapists that he has trained to do this, to use this protocol. And I thought I would have him on because I'm always looking for ways to give people access to good therapy, to good therapists, first of all, and to helpful therapy that doesn't break the bank and doesn't take months and months and months or years. Not that that's a bad thing. Sometimes being in therapy for a long time is a good thing. But anyway, so that's another thing that I'm thinking of. And then in February, my friend Robert Holden from the UK, who introduced me to an important aspect of the Enneagram, is publishing a book on the Enneagram that's really good. I've just finished reading it. It's coming out in February. And he's going to join us to talk about, finally, I'm going to introduce you all to this tool that I think is a really wonderful tool for our wisdom years. It's a great tool to help facilitate some of the inner work you might want to do. And I'm always open for suggestions. So if there's a topic, some of you have written to me and I keep all of them. So I know the topics you're interested in, and I'm always open to hearing more. So if there's anything else that you, yes, Robert Holden is delightful. He is a sweetheart. If there's anything in particular you want to hear about, you can always send an email to cheryl@cherylrichardson.com and I'll get that. And with that, I'm going to check the chat one more time. Oh yeah, I saw that, Amy, the movie Life with Ghosts. I'm very interested in checking that movie out. I have not seen it. Okay, just wanted to make sure there weren't any other. Yeah, so Connie wrote in Internal Family Systems. This therapy that Andrew Hahn is talking about uses a protocol that determines the best tool to treat whatever the issue is that you want to deal with. And IFS, Internal Family Systems, is a tool, EMDR is a tool, regression work is a tool. There's a bunch of different tools. So it'll be interesting. You all will find that, I think, kind of fascinating. I know I have, and I'm going to have him do a demonstration. I'm actually going to have him do a session with somebody on a Zoom gathering so you can see what happens. Okay, so I have a little prayer here that I wanted to just end with today. I thought, let me just say that I'm so grateful, really grateful that all of you showed up on Thanksgiving morning. I really had no idea. I thought it was like my old early days when I wrote my first book and I would go to a book signing and I'd think, if 3 people show up, they're going to get the best of me. You know, it doesn't matter how much. So I thought, even if 5 people show up today, we're going to have a great time. And, you know, unfortunately, I'm now going to get a lot of emails, I'm sure, from people saying, I tried to get on and I couldn't get on, but that's all right. So let's take a moment again to close your eyes. And I'm just going to, I'm going to read a little prayer that I created. And I'm going to invite you to just repeat each line quietly to yourself after you hear me say it, okay? So here we go. May thanks rise quietly in my heart, like morning light through a familiar window. For breath that arrives without asking, for hands that give and receive, for small, ordinary moments that quietly save the day, I say thank you. For love that has stayed, for love that has left and still teaches, for all that has shaped this life with both ache and beauty, I say thank you. May my heart remain humble and awake, soft to wonder, steady in hope, and brave enough to keep saying yes to the gift of being here. I'm going to read that one more time, just all together. May thanks rise quietly in my heart, like morning light through a familiar window, for breath that arrives without asking, for hands that give and receive, for small, ordinary moments that quietly save the day. I say thank you. For love that has stayed, and for love that has left and still teaches, for all that has shaped this life with both ache and beauty, I say thank you. May my heart remain humble and awake, soft to wonder, steady in hope, and brave enough to keep saying yes to the gift of being here. Amen. Yes. All right, everybody. Thank you so much for being here with me. I hope you have a wonderful day. I hope you have a wonderful weekend, and yes, lots of love to all of you. Thanks for being in the community. I'm really, really grateful for all of you. You make my life meaningful and you give me purpose, and boy, can't give much more than that, can you? All right. Happy holidays. Bye, everybody.